Garcia gets up on top of that ball, hammers it to left field. What a swing! It's gone!
Foster and Friends is brought to you by Envision in Christiansburg and Salem, Virginia. Discover what sets us apart for all your eye care needs. Once again, here's the coach, Bud Foster, and his co-host, Mac McDonald.
Welcome back. It's Foster and Friends on the NSB Radio Network. Our guest is Michael Dixon. He is the lead editor for thecomeback.com and also awfulannouncing.com, two really good websites. I wrote him. He was generous enough with his time to join us. And so, Bud, you think Michael might have had little coverage, even though he moved from the left coast to Indiana? Do you think he might know a little bit about the Pac-12?
Yeah, or the demise of it. I'd be curious, just to, we were talking there a little bit break, but, I think for our listeners, I think it's very interesting. But, you being a West Coast guy, me being a big time football fan since I was a kid, it's gonna be hard to not think about Pac-12 football anymore.
The college football landscape in general is obviously going to change so much, and I think we're eventually going to move to a place where it's just going to be 2 or 3 main conferences, and they're going to operate similar to how like the NFL operates, where just you get the playoff teams that way. Mm-hmm. But as far as the Pac-12 specifically goes, if you want to pinpoint its demise, and we've written some about this, and some is just kind of common sense, you just sort of have to follow the trail. How challenging is it to watch Pac-12 games? It's very good. Pac-12 network games is quite challenging. They're not in a lot of houses. They're not on a lot of cable providers. Several years ago, I had a friend visiting who went to San Jose State. This is when I was living in California, and this friend went to San Jose State, and he lives back in Boston now, but he was visiting, and we wanted to watch San Jose State. I believe they were playing Oregon State, and the game was on the Pac-12 network. And we're in downtown San Francisco, and we must have walked around to 4 or 5 bars before we found one that had access to that game. The one bar we found only had access to the Pac-12 network on like one TV. Mm-hmm. And if you've seen the images of cheers, like when they're watching a game, it's just kind of like that, where it's just this small little TV up in the corner. They have bigger TVs all over the place, and they're covering the bigger games. But like this one is just like this is the only channel we could watch it on, and it's wild to think about that. In almost 10 years, nothing has changed with that network in terms of its availability to people. Maybe you could say that San Jose State versus Oregon State, whenever that was not a huge game, and it wasn't. The USC's first game of the season this year was against San Jose State. And forget about the San Jose State perspective; they're not a Pac-12 team. USC is a Pac-12 team. They're on the short list of favorites to go to the playoff. They have the reigning Heisman Trophy winner and the current Heisman Trophy final favorite. And their first game of the season is on the Pac-12 network, which like nobody gets at. So few people, even within California, even in Los Angeles, have access to it.
That's crazy because
nothing
frustrates me more than to walk into a sports bar a night of a Miami Florida State game or a Clemson Florida State game, and the people above the bar watching bull riding and soccer. And when you don't control your sports and you wonder about, are we getting too watered down, Michael, as far as media coverage is concerned?
Yeah, that's a distinct possibility. There's definitely some truth to that. But it's, if you want to draw a line to why there's not going to be a Pac-12 anymore, or why it's going to be, if there is, it's going to be a very different conference than the one we've been used to for so many years. That's why they have not done a good enough job making themselves available in markets. And some of that may just be that, the Pac-12's biggest markets are like LA and San Francisco, the Bay Area, and Seattle. Those are all big pro markets, and Phoenix with Arizona State. So maybe you can make an argument that those markets aren't necessarily huge college markets, and that's fair enough. It's not South Bend, it's not Columbus, it's not Tuscaloosa, but still, USC is one of the all-time great programs in college football. And even though LA is a pro market, USC still gets a lot of coverage and a lot of attention down there. And the fact that the Pac-12 just kind of managed to let them go from let them go off to the Big Ten, and then kind of let the dominoes follow after that. It's just absolutely wild to me how that happened.
Michael Dixon is our guest from Awful Announcing and thecomeback.com lead editor. And Bud and I were just talking about Miami and Georgia Tech and the debacle and the miracle by Georgia Tech, whatever you want to call it, with the play call. And Bud right now is shaking his head about the play call too, trying to figure out how does a coach let that happen? Michael, you covered that pretty well, didn't you?
Yeah. Oh my God, that was Tim Hasselbeck did a great. I think Ben Axelrod wrote about that for Awful Announcing about kind of spotlighting what how good of a job Tim Hasselbeck did on that.
Yeah,
and he was right. He did a great job on that. And yeah, I heard Dan Levitard. We wrote something about Dan Levitard calling it the worst loss in Miami history.
Right.
I have to agree with him. You could definitely say that there were more impactful bad losses. Losing to Penn State, losing to Ohio State.
yeah.
But those are like, okay, that was just because your team or somebody on your team didn't play that well, and the other team did, and maybe you got a bad call go against you. That happens.
Yeah, it's like great football games happen. A play or two cost you a game, but you get into this situation, it's just that's kind of now that's not go to bad announcing. You can kind of go bad. I mean,
bad coaching.
Bad coaching.
That's why they have the hot seat. But there's a website called thehotseat.com.
Well, yeah,
that was just shocking. And it's we got when I was tweeting about that, when I was tweeting sort of the part 1, part 2, part 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got a few responses saying, what happened? I thought the game was over. I turned the TV off. It's like, yeah, everybody did because this is the 1 in a million time when the coach decided he didn't realize the situation and didn't want to go into victory formation. But I was kind of thinking about that. This isn't too much of an announcing thing, but I did kind of have a question about that because one of the other comments we got was, that's a situation where if the players realize what's going on, they should just override the coach and just take a knee.
Exactly.
From a coaching perspective, how much trouble would a player be in, do you think, if he did something like that?
Well, if he's in that situation, I would say, yeah, hey, you're right. That's because that's what as a staff, you talk about the game management and time management, and you go over those situations in your head. During the off season, you talk about those, but also prior to the game. Usually, we always have those discussions. When is the clock where we can take, we don't have to take time out, we can take a knee and do all those things. And it's just, that, just baffled me tremendously. That's all I can say without being too negative.
The funny part about that was, I also think Miami got a bad call. I think the guy was down.
Yeah, it was. I agree with you. I went back and looked at it. He could have been down very easily.
That said, if the referee had come back and said, upon further review, we think that the runner's elbow was down, but we're still going to award the fumble because we're just going to penalize such a stupid play.
Yeah,
I can't imagine anybody would have argued with that.
Would have made a big. Yeah. They still had to go 75 yards in two.
Yeah.
They went 75 yards in 2 plays.
Yeah,
so,
that's the other part of it.
With all that still going on. So, well, Michael, as I said, the monitor. I would think then that your days, your weeks, and your weekends then are, you got TVs going, you got computers going, and for all the coverage. And do going in, like, I'm going to look at this, I'm going to cover this, and then kind of from an announcing standpoint, or if you just wait for something to happen? It's almost like covering a police scanner.
Yeah, it's very much like that. With baseball season winding down, it's a little bit easier now although once basketball and hockey pick up, this will amp up again. But right now, from an announcing perspective, this is one of the busiest times of the year, but for us, it's one of the easier times of the year because you don't have all the local broadcasts.
Mm-hmm.
On college, you certainly do. There's a lot happening in college, but like on a Monday night or a Sunday night, it's usually kind of like Monday Night Football, for example. When we're working that, we just basically have kind of an agreement that, okay, you follow the Manning cast and I'll follow the main broadcast, and we'll just kind of listen for things. We're both looking for things, and we're listening for things to write about, and both on both sides, both from the what happens on the field and how it gets covered. Yeah, and then otherwise it's just kind of scouring Twitter, which I know can be a minefield sometimes, but scouring Twitter and sort of seeing what people are saying about, if some announcer made a funny comment or a great call, or from a sporting perspective, seeing if this team just made a great comeback victory, kind of is a police scanner. I think that's actually a really good comparison.
Yeah.
So you're getting ready to get real busy now with college basketball kicking in, NBA kicking in, NHL. So you're going to have something basically every night, like you said with baseball now. Yep. You just have the playoffs, footballs every weekend, so it's kind of a little bit of a lull for you, but just kind of quiet before the storm.
Yeah, and as far as basketball goes, we're really looking forward to getting the inside the NBA back. Getting, with Barkley and Kenny Smith and Shaq and Ernie Johnson on TNT, because those guys are just they're a gold mine for us, for content, for tweets, for everything. They're just great, and it's just sort of everything. They offer actually kind of good analysis, but in kind of an over the top way sometimes, particularly in the case of Barkley. But then there's also a lot of fun things where somebody will make some comment that's like a double entendre, and it's just hilarious, and
it's worth it.
Those guys are. I mean, we basically are on Inside the NBA watch pretty much every whenever that's going. Those shows are great for us.
I want to tell all listeners, really, the Comeback and Awful Announcing, just two really good sites to go to, especially if you love the electronic side. And Michael, continued success. Congratulations on all you guys do, and even like covering a Dick Vitale cancer scare or a cancer update or things like that. You guys do a wonderful job with that. So, and as I said, in changes and decision, it's you guys, it's more than just gaffes and making fun of people. It is two quality websites. Thanks for a few minutes today. We'll let you get back to the scanner. We don't want you to miss anything.
Thank you for having me. You actually caught me on one of my off days. This is kind of the life of the business where my weekends are Tuesday and Wednesday.
I understand.
There you go. Well, enjoy your so-called weekend.
Will do. Thank you guys for having me. That was a lot of fun.
Thank you, Michael, so much. We appreciate it. Michael Dixon, lead editor for thecomeback.com, awfulannouncing.com, two really, really good websites. This is the NSB Radio Network, and it's Foster and Friends. Hi, it's Mac McDonald for Envision and our good friends, Doctors Becky and Scott Mann. Located in Christiansburg and Salem, Virginia, Envision has been a preferred eye care practice since 1958. Scott and Becky took over the business in 1990, and they've been winning awards ever since. Why? People love their philosophy, the technology, and the unwavering emphasis on their eye needs. Envision is dedicated to supporting eye health. The team combines cutting-edge technology with highly relational patient care, and that can make a difference. From eye exams to contact lens prescriptions or the latest in sleek frames, the Envision staff will guide you through each process. For your next eye exam, log on to envision2020.com. Look for the new patient quick links. Envision. I promise you will see things differently.